As a young child, I can remember being excessively shy and terrified all of the time. My greatest defense was doing my best to stay out of the line of fire. I carried this behavior into adulthood. I remember the very first time I drank alcohol and achieved its effect. I was 16 years old. I remember how all the fear and anxiety just seemed to disappear. I got my first job and began drinking hard liquor with an older crowd. When I look back, I cannot think of one time that I did not drink myself into oblivion. When I was 27, I was introduced to methamphetamines and absolutely loved the way it made me feel. I was clueless to the effects this drug would have on my life. I began doing meth daily and going to work high. I tried to keep my using a secret. I was in denial about my drinking and drug use. My life became a world of darkness. I felt trapped and began to isolate. With some coaxing from my sister Kathy, I decided to move to Utah. I believed that a fresh start was all I really needed. It was during this time that I began drinking during the day. I would buy a 12-pack of beer and drink the whole thing. I started working 2 jobs, one of which was working for my sister. I got involved in a terribly volatile and alcoholic relationship. My sister eventually had no choice but to fire me. In 2007, I became pregnant with my beautiful daughter, Gracie Beth. I was 38 and terrified. I wanted to be a good mom to Gracie, but each day things just continued to get worse. I allowed our home to become an extremely unsafe environment. In September of 2014, I was evicted. I was homeless and terrified. There was a homeless shelter in the area. The temperatures were oftentimes below freezing, but in order to get a bed, I had to pass a breathalyzer. This was impossible for me, so I slept wherever I could, and on the really cold nights, I slept on the floor of the shelter with all the bums. I felt like I was living in the worst nightmare of my life. My sister was so desperately worried about me. She found me one day and gave me a piece of paper, and it read, "People who love Sarah McGregor." It was a list of phone numbers. Thank God I held on to that piece of paper because it helped save my life. I found my list of phone numbers and reached out to my brother Tom for help, but I was on a plane headed for Santa Barbara just 2 days later. I knew the Bethel House was the last chance I had to save my life, but I had no idea the impact that God would have in my recovery. When I walked through the door, I was so relieved and so grateful. I am an employed, contributing member of society today. I never thought a life like this was possible for me. Gracie, my daughter, has been so brave and patient through it all. I am so proud of her. Because of this wonderful program, I stand here today as a sober woman of God. Thank you.